Hello and welcome to my latest weekly video news from Madison's. Well, let's give you a quick roundup of what's happening at the moment according to the Rightmove House Price Index. It's basically reiterating everything that I've been talking about through the spring market, but with an interesting stat this month that new seller prices of properties coming to market has dropped by 0.3%. That's very unusual for June. Normally at this time of the year, you've got a head of steam building through from that spring market, a push for final properties to get to the market, and buyers very keen to commit. And so prices normally, seasonally, would rise a little bit. But I think that's an absolute indication that everybody is aware now, everybody I speak to, that the market is a bit sticky. There is a lot of stock. There is a lot for buyers to choose from. Although buyer demand is up, it's not up by enough to compensate for the properties coming to market and the sheer volume of them. And the stats showing that well-presented, well-priced properties are still the hot ticket. Different story across the top and the bottom of the country. So in the south and in London, we're seeing a much slower market, much more less aggressive price growth and more price reductions. And in the north, prices holding and actually doing quite well, and time on market quite short. So obviously a big conversation I have with my sellers at this point in the market is, should I drop my price to try and secure a buyer before the spring market calms down? It's probably got about another 3 to 4 weeks to run, and then it will definitely quieten. And my advice on that is always quite mixed, really. Firstly, what are their objectives? Is the seller in a bit of a rush? Are they getting bored of the viewings? Are there a lot of viewings but it's not happening? That's a sign that something's wrong with your price. Are there no inquiries at all? That's a sign that something's wrong with your price. Or is it just a really niche property that probably isn't going to have that much impact whether the price is dropped or not? Certainly, there are different ways that you can deal with a price drop. You can either do just enough to alert on the portals. Rightmove needs to see a 2% drop. Zoopla need a 3%. And on the markets or similar rates. So you can do that, and that will mean that those portals will push it out to all of their registered buyers. Your date will reset for the order that you appear on that search profile. The portals know how buyers like to transact with them, and they know that they want to see newest listings first. So the default is always set to date. You have to go in and fiddle with it if you want to see something else. And of course, you'll get that reduced, but buyers are used to seeing that at the moment, and they're kind of okay with it. They get that that's what's happening in the market. You could also do a price drop, though, that makes your property fall into a different price banding on the portals. So Rightmove asks you to put in your maximum budget as a buyer when you're searching, and you have this sort of small increments in the lower banded prices. But then as you get higher, they go in big jumps. So they go sort of up to 50,000, up to 500,000. Then they go by 100,000 jumps. You get to 1 million. Your next bracket is 1.25, then 1.5, and so on and so forth. So you could do a price drop that means that you fall into a different price banding. Let's say you've been on at 1.3, you could drop to 1.25, and all those buyers who haven't seen you to date will suddenly see your property if their maximum budget is 1.25. Or you can do a price drop that makes your property feel like an arguably different price. It just feels like it pegs it somewhere slightly different. You might be at 1.05 and you can put it on at 995. It would make it feel like a sub-1 million-pound property. It feels a bit psychologically different. So different ways to handle price reductions. If you're on the market and it's not working for you, do pick up the phone to your agent, have a chat through that. I think it's important. What are your objectives? What are you trying to achieve? And then your agent can give you the advice on what they think you should do. Of course, Bank of England meeting this week. I think they'll hold base rate. There's some headwinds in the economy at the moment. GDP was down last month. Inflation is sitting a bit stubbornly at about 3.4%. So households are feeling increased costs. Wage growth hasn't quite been what it should have been. Of course, we've got US tariffs going on. So a lot of economic headwinds, which means I think they will hold base rate of 4.25%, despite the fact that everyone thought it would be actually dropped. So it'll be interesting to see what the lenders do, because of course they were forecasting a bigger drop than that and hoping that it would go down a bit further. Let's wait and see, as always. On nicer notes, so the business has come out. My article this month, is on page 78. And I talk about the power of being prepared. What I'm talking about here is being legal. That'll have to go on the bloopers for Christmas. Fly wants to be in my vlog. The power of being prepared. I'm talking about being legally prepared. So preparing all your paperwork, getting your sister appointed, making sure all those necessary bits and pieces are in place. There is an absolute direct correlation between time on market and time to and chance of falling through before exchange. So if you can cut down that exchange right time by 3 to 4 weeks, you'll have a much better chance of exchanging and not collapsing. So I hope you enjoyed that. And some lovely properties that I have launched on the market too, I'm going to bring to your attention. What about this fabulous 6-bedroom home on Forest Road? It's got over 3,000 just square feet of accommodation, beautifully presented, accommodation exactly in line with what the target buyer of the family market likes, on at a guide of 1.7. And then how about this wonderful grade 2 listed property out sort of on Sandhurst, off Sandhurst, Blackhurst Lane. So a really nice part of the town, lovely and quiet, but very great for transport links. And it is stunning. The internal accommodation is absolutely beautiful, just under 2,500 square feet of accommodation, plus private garden and historical. Gloriousness everywhere. This fly is still joining me. I hope you have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.